Hello, this is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. Feedback is immensely important. Two ways to do that: email and YouTube. As I mentioned, and I will mention again to new listeners here, I'm working on advertisement to broadcast my podcast. So when all that's said and done, I will let you know about all of that. All right, so it won't be hard to find me. I'm on a lot of different podcast platforms. All right, so on to the topic of choice. I'm going to talk about the poem, Roses Are Red, Violets Are Blue. Here we go. Okay, so roses are red, violets are blue. I think it's a nice way to wrap everything up for the month of love here. And I chose this particular poem here because it's in the atmosphere, public domain. You might say a lot of different categories with it. So, and from that, there's a lot of different interpretations and meaning behind it. A really good example of this associations of what you meaning behind it and historical backgrounds of it is London bridges falling down and Piper. All right, sorry about that. Attend to my child here. So anyhow, like I was saying, going back, London. Poem like London Bridges Falling Down, poems are along lines of these calibers. There's a lot of historical significance, people interject within the poem. And it's interesting how these childhood rhymes or these, something like lyrics or ditties like green sleeves, they're symbolic or implement of the time period. And so, I think it's just a nice little recap and close out both in two folds for this month. So with this said, I am going to get into the aspects of about the facts. Okay, so and of course the source will be provided for you. So I'm gonna get right into it here. Okay, as soon as it pops up. All right. Okay, so here we go. Now, I am going to read from Thirst.com. All right, it's entitled "The Origin of the Roses Are Red, Violets Are Blue" poem. So it says, where did the ultimate Valentine's Day cliche come from and where does it go? It says, we all know the phrase, roses are red, violets are blue. The ultimate cliche for Valentine's Day. And it's implement about the aspects of affection that comes in that's associated with flowers. So, but there are so many more beautiful, mostly unknown poems about flowers. Flowers have inspired people for centuries, also wires of poems. Quite so when you think about how lyrical and sentimental and romantic poetry can be. All right, so first, the origin of Roses Are Red. The original version of the poem has been corrupted in many ways over the centuries. Yes, centuries. Because the original one, as far as we know, it was written in 1590 by Sir Edmund Spenser. Sir Edmund Spenser is a aspects of what I was recalling for those who listen to me on Friday. I give respect to all of you, and I this for the coming until I end the cycle. I'm talking about literature, and so past Fridays I talked about and gave my thoughts about the aspects of English literature, and he is a big proprietor of the cultural landscape that is with English lit. All right, so his poem, The Fairy Queen, is an allegory work in the praise of Elizabeth I. Now, it's quite interesting. Queen Mary Elizabeth I is the impact that they've had on society, history, and culture, and the aspects of English placement is very fascinating. And so what do I mean by that? So the aspects of what we hear today about, females being in power. Well, this whole aspects of being sensitive and understanding, if there's a matriarchy. When in reality, when we get especially in this case, Queen Elizabeth, the aspects of that fell out the wayside when religious beliefs and the aspects of the loyalty to the country comes to mind. Other than that, I guess it's great. But this is a implement in the aspects of the time period of how literature, specifically entailing with the symbolism of what we're getting, what the social commentary of the time, and what does that entail. So with that said, let's get into deeper meaning about what is this entail with Elizabeth I and her virtues, such as temperaments, chastity, friendship, and courtesy, among others. And this is even more irony, because this whole thing will, chastity and, the symbol of what you're supposed to be as a queen, but in reality, I don't know. Queen Elizabeth, you got some big dirt swept under the rug there. Cliche intended. All right, so among others, and Spencer wrote that one of his intentions was that the reading of his work should fancy a gentleman or a noble person in virtue and gentle discipline. It was upon a summer shy day when Titan Fairy has been and did display in a fresh fountain fair from all means view. She bathed her breast and boiling heat the way. And doing my best with Old English, but it can be a lot. She bathed with roses red and violets blue, all of the sweetest flowers that in forest grew. The spin-offs. So in 1784, there's another mention of roses are red and roses that are red in a poem by Joseph Ritson. We might, in this writer's recant or saying, we might call this as the first spinoff. Yet this looks already a lot more like the words that is used in so many versions as of today. So the roses is red, the violets blue, the honey sweet, and so are you. Thou art my love, and I'm thine. I drew thee my Valentine. The lot was cast, and then I drew, and fortune said, should it be you? What should be you? So Les Miserables. So Les Miserables, it's a long read, depending on how you look at it, But it's quite interesting about the aspects of how Les Miserables was symbolic, about the social class and the tiers of French culture, of the French class in that time period. So let's see how Les Miserables is connected, because there's so many cultural references in it. It's just had such a whirlwind impact on our cultural society. So the beloved words travel beyond Britain as well. And it's pretty windy where I am, so you hear strong wind in the background. That's what's going on. Know that the famous French novelist Victor Hugo lets one of the characters in Les Miserables sing, Les bleus sont bleus, les roses sont roses, les bleus sont bleus, jamais amours. Translated, violets are red, roses are red, violets are blue, roses are red, violets are blue, I love my loves. Alright, so corruption's all over. So what does this mean? It says it's easy if you have that one line, roses are red, violets are blue, and let your imagination fill in the rest if you may do so. Of the poem, depending on the situation or occasion. Perhaps that's why this rhyme has become so immensely popular for lovers and haters alike. What sticks is the overwhelmingly usage around Valentine's Day. Since so many words rhyme with blue, there are endless possibilities, even non-poets, to make wonderful poems. So roses are red, violets are blue. It's time to fill in the blank and have a romantic phrase. So let's get down to symbolism. So what do they have to say about that? So generally it's common tendencies to compare a loved one with a beautiful flower. In this case, roses and blue violets are a great expression of the romanticism of words towards your loved ones or yourself. So among the millions of love poems, this poem has been indeed about why roses and blue violets portray the main characters behind the romantic poem. Roses are flowers that define and represent love universally. Red is also the color that is treated as the color of love. On the other side, violet is commonly a used color and bouquets, especially used as gift for Valentine's Day. So violet color is the color of faithfulness, simplicity, modesty, and humanity. All right, so let's get in some facts and I'll close out. So I said sources, but again, I don't know. That's an uphill battle for me, when it comes to AI generated responses. Sometimes it works well, and sometimes it's just better to read from one more fresh, in-depth source or multiple sources and just blur them together. But this time I'm reading from one source because I think it really captures everything that I have to say that I think quite well. All right, so facts. What is the historical significance of the roses are red lines in poetry? So these roses are red lines trace back to the literary works from the 16th century, eventually influencing nursery rhymes that continue to captivate readers as of today. One early mention highlights the phrase, amid radiant flowers. This archaic rhyme acknowledges violets blue to symbolize devotion while referencing the distant appeal of the nature where forests grew. Over time, countless poets adapted these verses into playful spins for all audiences, showcasing how a simple expression of affection can persist throughout generations and remain forever cherished. Why do certain old verses featuring roses are red still resonate with modern audiences? Many consider them part of the most famous poem repertoire because they have been adapted as nursery rhymes for centuries, weaving timeless emotions into our cultural heritage. So, that's a psychological explanation. Because there's something to be said about that when you hear something in your childhood and it seeps into your memory and it stays with you. Because it really is true, whether people want to admit that. Some people, the ones that have balance with it and nuance with it, and then versus the ones that victimize it and say, oh, woe is me. But what you experience in your childhood really does stay with you. in more ways than one. All right, so early collections like Gamma Gutton's Garland preserves various short versions that highlight roses are red and other charming flowers. Each classic rhyme endures because it taps into universal longing for love and warmth. Whether referenced medieval times or contemporary inspiration, roses are red remains a beloved emblem, bridging generations through its enduring simplicity and heartfelt sentiment. So, how does the roses are red tradition relate to the symbolic nature of love? Often these roses are red verses celebrate the sweet beauty that love embodies, engaging all of our senses through delicate language and vivid imagery. Modern adaptations, sometimes playful, replace traditional endings with quirky ideas like blue sugar. Transforming age-old expression into fun declarations of devotion. Yet the essence remains the same. They amplify shared sentiments of passion, appreciation, and tenderness with each variation. So lovers find a new way to embrace an ageless poetic form that speaks to hearts around the world. Isn't that sweet? All right, so I really appreciate all of you. And so this wraps the end of the month of love. All right, so can't wait to move on to the month of March and the months ahead. And there's surprises and different topics. And also, feel free to reach out to me if you have show ideas or, comments, so forth. Always feel free to do that. Best way to do that is through email and, of course, YouTube. All right, so this reaches the end of the Harmon Line. Tune in. Excuse me. Turn up and definitely take care. Bye-bye for now.